Hi, welcome everybody to another great episode of Cloud and Clear, the CEO edition. I'm here in what is probably one of the most beautiful offices that we've ever done this in. I'm here at the headquarters of Teradata with the CEO, Steve McMillan. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Tony, how you doing? It's great to have you here. Great to be hosting you.
Thank you for having me. This is truly gorgeous. And this is just the outside part of it, but inside, this is the EBC, right? Where the customers get razzled and dazzled with the latest Teradata technology and solutions. So thanks for choosing this location. I think it's gorgeous.
No, it's a pleasure to welcome you here. We have lots of great discussions with executives from all over the world. Being here in sunny San Diego, it's a great place to come and visit.
Not bad. It's not a tough sell to say, come fly over to the EBC, right? Well, thanks so much for doing this. I followed your career over the last several years. I think when we met, you had kind of recently started Teradata, and that was really an exciting time. I'd love to go back, though, as far as you want to go, because I think our audience really loves to hear these stories of how somebody becomes a public company CEO, and I think your journey is super interesting.
I've always been in tech. I was a coder when I was a teenager, and you can tell from my Connecticut accent, right, that I'm a native of the USA. Now, I was born just outside of Glasgow, so grew up in the UK. I actually started with IBM before I went to university.
Wow. Before.
And it was the year that IBM made the biggest loss in corporate history. But I don't think it was anything to do with me at that time. But I grew up through IBM, had a fantastic experience. One of the great things with IBM is they take you and give you lots of different roles and opportunities, be it like field facing and then back into corporate staff. And I progressed my career through IBM, but I actually moved to the US in 2003, and I was supporting the chairman of IBM. So it was actually Lou Gerstner when he was handing over to Sam Palmisano.
Wow, what a great time.
So that was a really interesting experience. You can get to see how, the executive management of a big company like IBM works and operates. So that was a true learning experience. And then went back into the field. I actually left IBM in about 2012. My last role was actually running the American Express account for IBM, one of their biggest customers in the world. And my parting gift was to sign about a $2.5 billion outsourcing deal with American Express and
Not
IBM.
bad.
So that was
not a bad way to go out.
That was a good way to leave the company. But I chose to go and join Oracle, running one of their pre-cloud businesses. So managed service, and it was just at the time when Oracle was pivoting towards getting into the cloud. And I had a great time at Oracle over the course of 5 years or so, growing that business, but also creating a customer success function inside Oracle and helping that pivot from on-prem and perpetual to a more SaaS-based organization, which was super interesting. And that's kind of defined my career. If I think back about what's defined my career from start to finish, it's about transformation, transition. What motivates me personally is working with people to help them solve problems. And so I've found that every opportunity that I've taken in my career has been more about solving a problem. An organization that's got a challenge, working with that organization to help them transform. And I joined a company called F5 that you may have heard of.
Of course.
A big networking company. They are moving into the application space, but also into the software space, becoming more software-oriented, becoming more cloud-oriented. And that transition and transformation was something that really interested me. I had a C-level role inside F5, and essentially ran all of their services, their manufacturing, their support organization, started a CSM team for them. And I had a fantastic time with F5. Learned a lot about working in a mid-market company, rather than the huge behemoths of IBM and Oracle. And that actually opened my eyes up to the fact that a CEO can, as you know, really get involved in not just, I would say, the pedestal CEO activities that you kind of see in these really large companies, but you get you have a real opportunity to get your hands into both the strategic and the operational execution of the company. And that kind of C-level experience kind of set me up to take on this CEO role for Teradata, and clearly it's a huge transition and transformation opportunity that we got into.
I actually didn't realize how many of your past experiences were so common to the undertaking that is, the current role at Teradata. That's really, really interesting. There were each transformational periods, some of them very much of transforming to the cloud, but in almost all cases, big transitional moments in all the companies you've been in.
And really challenging situations to overcome. So it's been super fun.
Yeah. So speaking of history and legacy, I mean, Teradata and enterprise software sort of go hand in hand. Teradata and data, I mean, it's in the name, go hand in hand. A lot of ways, I believe Teradata defined large data. It defined data lakes before they were called data lakes, data warehousing, etc. How do you think that history puts Teradata in an advantageous position? But then what are the challenges that also come away with this sort of innovator's dilemma? That is part of what you have to work on.
Yeah, no, I think it's really funny. Legacy in nearly every other field is seen as a really positive thing. You've got a fantastic legacy, but not in IT.
Right, not in technology. I think Satya Nadella famously said that this is an industry that has no respect for legacy.
And so to your point, I think, we could say we invented, enterprise scale data warehousing.
Yes, clearly.
I mean, Teradata comes from the fact that working with a huge retail company in the US, we implemented the first terabyte database and enterprise data warehouse. And back in the 90s, that was a huge thing.
Very big thing.
And so I think, as I came into the company, with the role of transforming to become modern and relevant in that space, setting out a real mandate of what we're going to be in terms of a company was super important. And to your point, I think just being really clear that at our core, we're a technology company, we're a software company, we're a platform company. But not only that, we're going to be built on a couple of principles. We're going to be cloud first and partner first. And hopefully you're seeing the latter of that in terms of how we're working with your company and how we're solving customer problems. But being cloud first was super interesting. I just ran my all-company meeting here, and the comment was, do we recognize the on-prem nature of our business enough? And my point is, I started talking about cloud almost exclusively because we're repositioning the company. And we pivoted 80% of our R&D staff from on-prem activities to cloud activities.
That's huge.
I've worked in organizations where, hey, we're going to be cloud first, but we don't put wood behind that arrow. We really took the operational execution of that really seriously. And I just framed it out. That was a kind of Teradata 1.0, repositioning the company. We had a presence in AWS, but our presence was fairly nascent. But that pivot allowed us to accelerate quickly to have our capability on Azure and then Google. And that then led us into a Teradata 2.0, where we expanded that presence in the cloud. But what we're looking at now is, because continuing evolution, building on all of our heritage capabilities, technology capabilities, is leading us into Teradata 3.0, which is about how do we enable our customers in a truly hybrid world, a world where they want to take advantage of AI, and a world where that AI has to be trusted, and organizations want to operate that at scale. So I think it's just a continuing journey. We're always on that transformation beat. And I think that's what makes technology super exciting.
what do you think is the key to your customers who've spent, let's talk about the existing customers and let's talk about new acquisition. I think there are different challenges. Existing customers who spent decades refining, fine-tuning, customizing, let's say the on-premise sort of world of Teradata that they've deeply relied on to run the business. How do you get those customers excited about continuing to grow and evolve with Teradata, and also transition to the cloud? It's not an easy thing for them sometimes. You've done a tremendous amount of work getting the product to parity, right? But how do you have those conversations? How do you gain their confidence that this is the platform that has gotten them to where they are, but it's also the right bet for them for the future?
Yeah, I think we've proven out over hundreds and hundreds of customers now as we went through that Teradata 2.0 and scaled out our cloud business to over $500 million now. Hundreds of our customers inside the cloud. What we prove is, hey, we can take that on-prem workload and move it to the cloud, and we do that in the least risk, the least time, and the least cost way.
You've actually spent a lot of time making that easy.
Yeah.
Which is, that in itself is a difficult technical and architectural product challenge, but you've done it. I've heard from your own professional services teams, like, we've spent a lot of time making this easy.
Yeah, well, we moved American Airlines to the cloud, and their feedback when they migrated and switched it on Monday morning, they were all like, how are our business users going to be doing as that system comes up? And the only feedback they got is, seems to be running a bit quicker. Which is exactly the kind of comment that you want.
That's what you want.
But in terms of, we don't position that as the end game. I think a lot of our customers have made, strategic decisions to work with a cloud provider like a Google. And they want to take advantage of all of the services that are inside the Google ecosystem. What we tend to see is, once we move the Teradata environment to the cloud, for every dollar they're spending on Teradata, they're spending a multiple of that on native services around the Teradata environment. So it's very attractive for a Google Cloud to have the Teradata environment in their ecosystem, and then we natively integrate with a lot of those Google Cloud native services. And working with partners like you, we help deliver that value to our customers in terms of, not only taking advantage of the Teradata environment, but also how can we integrate that? We're happy to integrate with BigQuery. For some workloads, BigQuery is great. The analytics capabilities that are in the Google environment are fantastic. Some of the data management tooling. So all of these native services, some of which we have inside the Teradata platform that reaches into the Google environment, but also the Google environment reaching into Teradata. And it really, the migration is just one step. We migrate to modernize.
That's right. And not just to migrate for itself, which is a good milestone. You want to get there. A lot of organizations have also a cloud-first strategy, or we're shutting down data center strategy. So you're in support of that. But I agree with you that the hope is, as you do that, or maybe briefly after you do that, you get to take full advantage of the capabilities that this hyperscaler now brings.
No, absolutely. It's all about delivering business value. And our perspective is, why should an organization spend sometimes tens of millions of dollars to migrate from Teradata to a competitive solution for essentially no business value? When we can together migrate that customer to the cloud and then modernize in a way that continuously delivers business value.
We totally agree with that, by the way, as practitioners. As partners, as a team that works on this technology across different vendors. I think keeping the native capabilities of a Teradata or a NetApp or whatever it is, it just makes so much more sense for customers as far as speed to value. And then, once you're there, you can expand. But part of this, certainly in the Google Cloud ecosystem, was the release of Vantage Cloud Lake on GCP. That was a big milestone, June. Congratulations. We were tracking that with you, celebrating it with you. How does that open up that part of the market? Which, a lot of customers have chosen GCP as their primary cloud. So but now you're there. That was
Yeah.
a really big milestone that you're working towards.
Yeah, so we've had our enterprise platform available in Google Cloud for some time, and
Yep.
we've successfully enabled some of the biggest companies in the world to transform and deliver Teradata in that Google Cloud environment. But as we've continued to modernize our architecture, we know that customers don't just want, a pristine enterprise data warehouse. They want a data lake and a data lake house. And so to have our new architecture, Vantage Cloud Lake, in Google Cloud has opened up all of those customers that have a Google Cloud first strategy, right? In terms of where they want to take their workloads into the cloud. And it's given that capability for future modernization. And so if I look at, the opportunities that we see for the second half, a lot of them are actually in the Google Cloud environment.
Yeah.
And so it has enabled us to open up a whole new set of customers where we can give that modernization and talk to them about, how do you deliver AI at scale in the Google Cloud environment, integrated with Teradata, integrated with native object store capabilities inside Google Cloud. That is opening up a whole new world for us.
Yeah. Look, I just met JD for the first time, and he comes from this sort of hyperscaler world with AWS. I learned he worked at Insight for many years, which is convenient in what we're trying to accomplish together now. And I think, tying that into our joint ambitions to help also find new customers who are not going to get started on premise, right?
Yeah.
Their first experience and taste of Teradata, if they're new to Teradata, is probably going to be on one of the hyperscalers. Let's talk about the customer acquisition strategy.
Yeah.
Like, how do we not only help the existing customers who've bet their business on Teradata forever to transform to the cloud, do more with Teradata in the cloud? How do we go and win new customers together?
Yeah, I think there's probably two key imperatives that we see in the marketplace today. One is clearly helping customers take advantage of AI, advanced analytics, generative AI, demonstrating to customers. Because I read a report recently, I think Gen AI now from the Gartner hype cycle is starting entering into the trough of disillusionment.
A little bit.
And so I think our job together is, how do we help our customers power through that trough and really start to get business value from those AI solutions?
Yeah.
And I think together we've identified a number of different use patterns and use cases that we can replicate from some of the biggest companies in the world and take them out to a new set of customers who, they want to analyze their customer complaint data, but they want to integrate that with, a 360-degree view of the customer and the profitability of a customer, so that they can see, oh, we have a risk here with some of our most valuable customers. As we analyze how they are interacting with us, and they can prioritize next best action as a result of that. Just one example of a use case. I think that's how we go out and acquire new customers, especially from an AI perspective. And it's based on that business value. So that's really the second thing. So it's not just AI. AI's got a lot of interest, clearly, and we've got some really interesting thoughts on, it has to be trusted. It has to be ethical. It has to be sustainable, i.e. you've got to be able to run it effectively and efficiently. But looking at the real business value, the use cases, how customers want to deploy it. We won a deal in Japan recently where one of the banks wanted to use it for revenue realization, and using those advanced analytics to power the insights. So new customer acquisition, I think, is always going to come about from a business value discussion, not necessarily a technical discussion.
Totally right. No, and I think, look, availability of these solutions on marketplaces, the potential for discoverability, the potential for a customer to get started small. It used to be the entry point for some of these enterprise solutions, including Teradata back in the days. It was like, oh, if you were not Fortune 500, you're probably not going to do it. But I think it's important to use that procurement and discovery framework of cloud, just like you would start in a native cloud service. You would start small to be able to kind of enter and discover and grow as the needs grow. And again, we're going to work very closely with JD and team to enable insight fully in their customer base of 30,000 customers of how we bring this to market together at a different level of capability than we could do on our own pre-acquisition. So we're excited to talk about that.
Yeah.
You talked about AI, just like I think you said, a lot of companies talk about their cloud first, but they're not really. You would argue a lot of customers or, a lot of organizations are, saying we're AI first, but they don't really put the weight behind that. Can you tell us about the investments and strategies that you've made in building those AI capabilities natively in the solution that gets customer speed to value faster?
Yeah, I think what we see in our customers is essentially kind of three horizons from an AI perspective. The first horizon is, how do you use it for efficiency and effectiveness inside your organization?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a great example of, some form of Copilot.
Mm-hmm.
Gemini, right,
Mm-hmm.
from the Google environment,
Mm-hmm.
using that technology to improve internal operations. And certainly we're doing that inside Teradata. The second thing is, how do you embed AI into your product or service offering?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
And we're doing that. So we have a technology called Ask AI, which enables folks that may have not have come across the Teradata ecosystem before to have an interactive experience, so you can ask it for guidance on, how do I set up a new database in Teradata? What does my first query look like? Yep. And have a very much interactive experience. We're also building that out so it's not just from a knowledge base interaction, but you can also start to have a more natural language interface to the data that's inside the Teradata ecosystem.
That's very cool.
And so we see our customers thinking about, okay, how can I embed Gen AI and AI into the products and services that we utilize today? And then I think the third horizon, which is super exciting, is how is this going to change the industry that we operate in?
Yeah.
Something that we're constantly thinking about from a data and analytics marketplace perspective. But I have a really cool example from a CPG customer in the UK, who basically, he was on stage with me in London 10 months ago, and he basically said, if you think about the interaction between a CPG company and like a Walmart, as they negotiate the price of something that's a commodity, essentially. So price of a bar of soap in Kentucky.
Right.
Yeah. That's a human interaction just now. And they are battling with sources of information.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What they're doing is they're augmenting their merchandisers in the CPG company to be armed with the right level of information so they can negotiate with the likes of a Walmart at a very micro level. Yeah, the margins on a bar of soap are like razor thin.
Pennies matter.
Yeah. And so he sees that as, okay, we're going to continue to augment our merchandisers with these advanced analytic and Gen AI solutions. But he can see a day where his industry is transformed, where it's essentially a battle of the bot. There's a merchandising bot negotiating with a buyer side bot, and they'll negotiate out the price.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like, that for CPG is a bit like the transformation that we saw in high frequency trading.
Right.
Back in, as the stock markets got automated, and it became the battle of the quant.
Yep.
And so, having the best data and analytics, having the best access to the right language model, be it large, medium, or small, really underpins the ethos of the data and architecture, and the architecture of the Teradata platform to be open in terms of bringing in the best language model capabilities, utilizing the best analytics, and enabling our customers to realize all three of those horizons.
Yeah.
And it's great to be working with your team in terms of actually delivering that to customers every day.
It's really interesting. You've been through so many paradigm shifts. This is certainly one of those. It feels different in some ways because it's so science fiction, somewhat maybe unpredictable, but I want to go back to what you said about the trough. I think the trough is part of any hype cycle.
Yeah.
But in this case, in our experience, it's really been due to customers' inability to show the right use case, to pick the right use case, to understand the ROI, such that to get all these POCs we're all doing into production,
That's
right?
absolutely right.
That's the trough we're going through. It actually came up at the last partner event that we're all in almost a year ago. It's sort of still sort of there. I'm glad that building these capabilities natively in this tooling, I think, will get customers there faster, which is the whole point. Because we want these solutions to be durable. We want them to continue to be invested in. We're all getting better at helping customers choose what to work on.
I think if you look at the stats, I think the stat is more than 65% of data science projects fail.
Yeah.
Gen AI is no different. More than 65% of those programs are going to fail.
Yeah.
But we see in our customers a continuing interest to invest in that because ultimately the value that they could and can create is absolutely there, but it's got to be against the right use cases, you said.
And it could be 100x return on the right problem deployed against the right tooling, right, with qualified teams. So I love that we're all sort of learning together. The other thing you said, which is I find super interesting, just as sort of someone that's involved in the private sector, commercial world we all live in, is sort of how jobs are going to change.
Yeah.
What's your prediction with how kind of the economy is impacted at large and how employment and roles and responsibilities change over the next 3 years?
Yeah. It's an opportunity for value shift. But we talked about, these technologies have got a real challenge to move from a good idea to enterprise scale.
Yes.
Yeah. And what we see is, giving customers a cloud environment where they can run these trusted AI models at scale is super interesting.
Yes.
And that's going to start helping generate that increment in productivity, open up new opportunities, I think, for the folks inside our customers to operate against.
Yeah, I think the confidence in accuracy, the confidence in reliability, the confidence in the ethical frameworks, and of course the security part, I think tons of investments going there, as it should. It's a lot of the work that we do. So unless that's almost a necessary condition for these things to reach scale. But in our world, actually just this morning, my head of enterprise support sent me new capability, like, hey, we're doing sentiment analysis on these conversations with support tickets to understand how the customer's feeling, you know? And that's all sort of automated. In this case, it's built into ServiceNow, right? It's not something we even have to write. And these are the kinds of things that, again, Teradata users are going to be able to benefit from as they become a native set of capabilities. But I'm glad to hear you're an optimist, just like I am, generally speaking. I think it's difficult to run a company, to be a CEO of a company, unless you're an optimist.
Yeah.
I think that's almost a necessary condition. But I see it the same way. But also, again, you certainly are not in the passenger seat of making sure that happens. I think you get to play an active role in helping contribute to that better, more positive future about AI. What has to happen in the next 3 years, such as the board comes and says, Steve, you crushed it?
Yeah. I think, when I joined Teradata, working with our chief people officer, we set out some principles for the company. And I think they ring true in terms of making sure that we are heading in the right direction. We've always got to be market and customer focused and obsessed. We have to have agility and execution. And then we have to be accountable to one another. And I think when we put those principles into action and have all of the behaviors aligned to that, it enables us to be a dynamic organization that can respond to the environment in which we're working. So, going through that Teradata 1.0 to 2.0, we're now in that, looking at what Teradata 3.0 is going to do as we move into the future. And I think it's going to be around enabling our customers to achieve that business value by using a trusted platform that can generate trusted results in a very effective and efficient way. That trusted, ethical, sustainable, and enabling some of the biggest organizations in the world to achieve that at scale is something that we're super excited in. I look at all of the different areas that we operate in. One of those is healthcare. I think the opportunity to transform healthcare organizations around the world is going to continue to power a lot of our customer interactions. I met with one of the biggest health groups in the US a couple of weeks ago with their lead for data science and analytics. And just as your team is looking at ServiceNow data, they're looking at patient records and patient data so that they can, give advanced and proactive recommendations to their customers and patients to improve health outcomes, which is just transformative for the world.
Huge.
Yeah.
And what a good thing to work on, right? From a world impact standpoint.
Yeah, and that just one great example of using data to power the world and using data for good.
Yeah. No, that's a novel cause, and I think I just filmed something with my CEO yesterday, and we're talking about one of the customers we worked on also happened to be in healthcare, and there was a real I won't rehash it, but a real impact story out of the work that we're doing that enables them to do what they do well. And I think I'm so glad you brought it back to that, because oftentimes we forget we're in the trenches, we're doing work that seems very commercial in nature or very technical in nature. We're like, wait a minute, we're actually helping them solve huge world problems. And I think that is a mission we can all stand behind. I'm so excited about the evolution of Teradata over the last 4 years, and even more excited about what the next 4 holds for you. Thanks for being a great partner. Thanks for investing in us and in Google Cloud. And we're going to be with you every step of the way. And I really appreciate the partnership. And I definitely appreciate you being with me on Cloud and Clear today.
Thank you very much, Tony. It's been an absolute pleasure. Looking forward to our working together way into the future.
Thanks. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you for listening to Cloud and Clear. Check the show notes for links to this week's topics. And don't forget to connect with us on Twitter @Cloud and Clear and our website, sada.com.